Natural Dyes and Home Dyeing, which is an older book from like 50s.
Dover, I have it, yeah, Dover publications.
And Botanical Color at Your Fingertips. And this one talks more about things like avocado pits and avocado skins and that kind of thing.
Bah humbug.
Natural Plant Dyeing, and this again is an older one, and it talks about collecting and storing recipes from around the world, dye plant books. But this one, I'm going to see if I...
Those are from the New York Botanical Garden.
And this is from 1973, so this is an older one also. This is the one that some of us were talking about, which was Harvesting Color, How to Find Plants and Make Natural Dyes. And so this is plants that you might find along the roadside, as well as plants you can grow in your garden. And this one is called Wild Color. There are a number of websites that will be on that bibliography also. The other thing that we'll put up on the Facebook page is I made a little document that shows a picture of the flower and a brief description of the flower and its environmental conditions, and if there's anything special about dyeing with it.
Oh, that's
So,
great, Linda.
we've got,
I don't even know what you're doing is what I'm
Wow,
thinking.
Linda, this
because you read this document.
Okay.
So glad you came. Will you be passing those books around now or not?
If people are not uncomfortable touching them, I'd be happy to pass them around. Because some of them
your fingers.
are,
And don't lick it, but
yeah, don't lick it, please.
yeah.
So this is going to be a brief presentation because there's going to be a lot of information available to you. And I'm only going to go through a couple of these rather than going through all 9 pages of the different plants. But I wanted to start out with you growing them. Now some of us have acres and acres. And so we can spread out. And we can set up perennial beds, and that's just fine and dandy. Some of us have a patio sized garden that might have a couple of window boxes. Some of us have enough space to have some container plantings.
And some of us can kill mint.
And some of us can kill mint. So,
Are you serious?
I'm sorry I killed mint.
You probably had a black walnut tree nearby.
yes, because that does that. And we also have 2 master gardeners here, so if I run into any technical difficulties, we can defer to them. The first thing you need to start out with is you need to decide which things you want to dye. Now there are a whole bunch of which colors you want to dye. There are a whole bunch of plants that dye nice yellows and greens, but if you want to dye blues or you want to dye purples, you're going to have to be a little more selective in what you're planting. Your container garden or your raised bed or your garden has soil in it. And the pH of that soil is one of the things that contributes to which plants grow well and which plants grow poorly. Now, in western Pennsylvania, we have soil that runs acidic. Like when we first moved to my farm, we had our soil analyzed at Penn State Extension, which cost $15, which is like nothing. And our pH was 4, which is pretty acidic. A acid runs from 0 to 6.5. Neutral is like 6.5 to about 7.5. And then alkali or base, or what's sometimes called sweet, runs from 7.5 to 14. Now, some plants, most garden plants prefer the soil to be just a little bit acidic or neutral. And some of them require acid to grow well. Some of them really want that alkali or that sweet soil to grow well.
You should have a blueberry farm.
Right, and blueberries are one of those plants that require more sweet soil. So,
Acidic.
that's right,
Yeah.
low pH. So you can amend to neutral for most of your dye plants, and you can raise acidity by adding peat moss to
You say raise acidity, so
which is lower the
going
pH.
lower.
You can add peat, elemental sulfur, or more organic mulch. If you want to sweeten your soil, you can add hydrated lamb, wood ash, or oyster shell. Now, it takes a long time, and it's not going to be a permanent fix because as the rain comes down in western Pennsylvania, we've got a lot of acid rain. And even with the manufacturing and industrial plants being not moving so much in this area, your rain is typically going to acidify your soil. So it's something you're going to have to do every couple of years. And since you're only caring about the top couple of layers, you can do like the first 3 to 6 inches of your soil. So if you're doing a raised bed, you can put the right stuff in immediately. If you're doing a container pot, you can do the right stuff immediately. If you're using a larger garden, then you're going to have to spread and let it leach in from the rains. We lime our fields about every 3 years. We throw 6 tons per acre of lime on our soils, which we don't do. We hire some guy who's got triaxle trucks
How
to
much?
come in.
How many truckloads?
That's 2 big triaxles for just our one side yard. And they drive down over the hill and then they drive back and forth across the field. So we typically have them do it after our first cutting of hay or in the fall after our last cut comes off. Because you want it to have all year to come in. Now, the last couple of times we've done that, our entire 15-acre side yard has flooded and all of our nice lime has gone down to whoever lives down 10 miles from us, probably someplace down in Marietta. So it takes a long time for that to soak in. And it doesn't really help to plow it in because if you're plowing it in, then one of the things you're doing is you're raising weed seeds to the surface of the soil. So you're just making things more miserable. So in your raised beds or your container gardens, you can do more small scale amendments. Now, the plants that really prefer the sweeter alkaline soil are daylilies, which is amazing because if you think about all of those tiger lilies that run along the roadsides, that's in very poor alkaline, acidic soil. But they do okay there, but they really thrive in a more alkaline soil. Goldenrod and yarrow, and there'll be pictures of those in the handout. And calendula. So daylilies, goldenrod, and yarrow, and calendula are all in your yellow and yellow-orange color groups. The ones that prefer a more acid soil are indigo, which is going to give you your shades of blue. The hope sunflower, hoppy sunflower, which you can use the petals for a yellow, the leaves for a green, and the seeds for a black or a purple or a blue. You can do Dyers.
What kind of sunflower is that?
It's called Hopi, H-O-P-I, Hopi sunflower. And it doesn't.
Mexican?
Pardon?
Is it from Central America originally?
I believe so.
Okay.
But it's one that does not naturally grow here, but you can plant the seeds and they grow well and they propagate well and you can save your seeds and grow more next year. And yellow bed straw, which used to be called ladies' straw, which supposedly was it was originally from the Middle East, and it was the stuff that was laid in the manger. So that's why it's called ladies' mantle or ladies' straw. And those flowers and stalks will give you a yellow, and the roots will give you a coral or an orange.
Is it the same as ladies' mantle? Is that
No,
what you're
it's
saying?
not the same as ladies'
It looks
mantle.
like madder. It's that
Yes.
stuff that sticks to you, that gets real long, and
It's got spiky, spidery.
Is it the one they call touch me on?
No,
No, but it's sort of like that. It gets real long and rangy, and it sticks to you when you try.
so that's basically all I wanted to say about soil chemistry. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, somebody said, by the time you collect enough plant material to dye fiber. Some of these say 1 to 1. If you're doing dye 4 ounces of yarn, you're going to need 4 ounces of this. Some of them are 10 to 1. If you're going to dye 1 ounce of yarn, you're going to need 10 ounces.
And I think that's with the mullein, because I had a whole pot full of mullein, and I got that one little skein.
Yeah.
So where
But
do you
like
find the
goldenrod,
ratio?
1 to 1 will do. That's
Some of that ratio will be here because I have it in all the ones that I have that you can grow in your garden. If you look up online,
Okay.
go to natural dyeing, dyeing with plants,